Hello. In this video, we're going to cover work intake and delve into the details behind how to create and edit proposals. And on the navigation, we are on the work intake page. When you click on this, you will see a list of proposals. Your screen may be different than the screen shown here based on the fields that have been selected. But this table displays the list of proposals, and you have the ability to rearrange the order of all the available fields. You can turn fields on and off. You can manually drag and drop to a different location, or you can drag and drop from the column headers themselves. We'll come back to views a little bit later. We have a full video on how to create personal views, and for the administrators, they can create global views. But let's start with creating a new proposal. So I will click on the plus button at the top. I'm going to click on New Proposal. You may not even see an option for New Project because that may be disabled. But you can click on New Proposal. And your form likely will look different. This form has certain fields. Each organization can configure their own intake form. And the fields that are displayed and the order in which they're displayed. There's only a few fields that are required, namely the name and description. There may be other required fields based on your own configuration. So I'm going to type in new work intake video. And I'm going to type in a description. And I can put in objectives. I can type in benefits, background information, recommendations. You likely would have a drop down for project manager, sponsor. You might type in some high level financials, department, strategic goal, etc. Certain users would have the ability to import projects. So I'm going to go ahead and create the project or proposal. And when you create the proposal, it takes you into the details and specifically to the information page. So both projects and proposals have several sub pages. You can think of this as a workspace. So the new work intake video, it has a workspace, and these are the pages currently displayed. Your view may look different. Some of these pages may not be enabled, or they may be displayed in a different order. You also may not see the approve, defer, cancel buttons. Those are available for administrators to approve, defer, and cancel proposals. But from this page, you also may notice that there's additional fields displayed, and that can be by design. The initial proposal form may be shorter. The information page may have more fields that need to be filled in. So you can click on the Edit Proposal button, and you may come back and update additional fields that you either were not able to edit from the initial form, or you have more information having done more research. Now, there is a proposal status, and right now the status options are draft or ready for review. When a proposal is first created, it starts as a draft proposal. The assumption is that there may be additional work needed according to your organization's internal process for collecting and validating specific information before going to a leadership review. And so the assumption is once you have collected all the necessary information according to your organizational process, you could change this to ready for review. That would send out potentially new notifications to key stakeholders. It would help prepare this proposal for a review by a leadership team or a project sponsor. So I'm going to click on Update Proposal, and we will see the new proposal state ready for review. In terms of the other pages, we do have a proposal overview. We can look at start and finish dates of the work. In this case, I'm going to add a start and finish date in a moment. We've got a timeline page. We did not specify start and finish. It showed me the single day. Let's add dates here. So on the timeline page, we can change the dates. I'm going to put in today's date, and let's put a finish date later in the year. Click submit. If you don't like the date, or if you want to change the date or delete the date, you could click on X. If you want to change it, you could click on the calendar icon. You're not required to put in dates, but if you want to use the resource module, then you must have a start date and a finish date. So we'll go ahead and click on submit. And now I can click zoom to fit, and I see a timeline. We'll have more information in timeline and schedule videos, but we can add a milestone. Maybe it's going to be planning complete, and maybe I'm going to push this out maybe by the end of the month. So this is the assumption being we're going to put in a few key milestones for our project on the assumption that it gets approved and can start based on the requested start date. You can add additional information to the description field that will show up when hovering over the milestone. You might have various milestone options. This is the configuration in this demo. We're going to put in the green on track. You may have different options. And so that gives us a display of a single milestone for planning complete at the end of January. You can change dates very simply. You'd click on the change. Same process. You could, if you needed to delete a start date or finish date, you could click on the X. If you needed to update the start and finish date, you could click on the icon. There's a risk page where you can add risks associated with the proposal. And anything that's captured in the timeline, the risk page, resources, financials, etc., it will be carried forward if the proposal is approved to become a project. We can click on the Add button to add risks. This brings up a new window. Status of open or closed, a risk name. Risk type would be based on the configuration set up by your administrators. In this case, we may have risks associated with schedule, budget, scope, quality, resourcing, but yours could look different. A description of the risk, what's the response plan, some key notes, and maybe what's the response itself. The owner, a risk owner. And in this field, the owner of the risk, and it's not required, it displays a drop-down list of all of the resources that have been captured in the system. So if you don't see somebody that should be selected as a risk owner, do contact your administrator to potentially have that added. So I'll go ahead and create one. Test risk, budget type. So, in this case, I'm not going to fill out every field. Maybe we don't know the priority, or maybe it's a medium priority. Within the risk page, we offer two designations. One is a general priority of low, medium, and high. The other is a measurement of severity and likelihood. This would be associated with a traditional 5x5 risk matrix. So let's just say it's a medium across both. You'll see this will make more sense in a moment. I'll click submit. If you want a hyperlink to a document, you can put in the URL at the bottom. We'll click submit. Risk has been added. And then down below, we've got a 5x5 risk grid I can hover over that. And so for organizations that are using the 5x5, they can hover over specific risks. Once a proposal is approved to become a project, risks can be converted into issues, and we'll cover that in a different video. Proposal scores, we'll have a separate video on proposal scores, but this is part of the prioritization module. You can click on the edit, and depending on the criteria, you may see specific tooltips that help you evaluate the relative value and the relative risk of each proposal entering the portfolio. So let's just click medium for everything, just for the sake of time. I'll do low, start from the top actually. Click save. And so here we see a score of 50, a risk score of 25. We'll cover this in more detail on our prioritization video, but this is just a highlight and underscore that you can do an evaluation of a proposal based on your prioritization criteria. Who does the evaluation is up to your own organizational process. The scores can be edited later. So maybe there's an initial evaluation and it's looked at again by the leadership team before final decision making. Resource plan, we'll have a full video on resource planning. And so, but in short, this is the page that allows us to add requested resources to work on a specific project or proposal. The purpose of doing it in the proposal phase could be to evaluate availability. So I'm going to add a single resource. Depending on your organizational hierarchy, you would select the resources. You may or may not see the first highest level. I'm going to click on IT. I'm going to grab a project manager. I'll grab Cody. And you can put in an initial estimate. It's quite common in the early phases of a proposal, before the full scope of work is understood, to put in a general estimate. So we're going to put in a general estimate of 25%. 25% would represent about 10 hours per week. So if 40 hours a week is 100% utilization, then 25% would be about 10 hours. Click submit. And now we see the first name under the department, the role, the name, the initial top-down estimate that's cascaded across. And in this case, Cody is overutilized in this time period based on the dark pink coloring. Again, we'll review this in much more detail when we review the resource planning capabilities. If you need to, you can double click into the cells, you can edit, you can tab over and make those changes. Maybe it's 35 and then maybe it's 10. Click return and it'll update. So this is the general resource plan. You do have the ability to change proposal dates from this page if needed. And this is to keep the resource plan synchronized with the timeline, start date, finish date. We've got a financials page if this has been enabled for your organization. This is quite detailed, so we will spend more time on this in the financials video. And then lastly, we have a dependencies module. We'll cover this in more detail in the dependencies video. But the purpose of this is to identify connections or relationships to other projects. It could be a relationship to an existing project or another proposal. And then we have the notion of upstream or downstream, which is analogous to like a predecessor or successor relationship. But it's intended to highlight the relationships between projects and proposals to understand relative impact. If something was to happen to one project, what would be the downstream result to another project? There's other uses of the interdependencies, but this provides a clear way to capture relationships between projects. So in terms of approving, most users are not able to approve projects, but we'll walk through how this is done. If there's an approval, a deferral, or a cancellation, the respective decision button would be used. In this case, we're going to defer, and I'll put not right now. There may be other notes to capture why the decision was made. Once we do this, we'll see that the status has been changed. We have a decision date, and we have the decision notes. So this particular project will be put on hold or deferred. It can be reviewed in the future. Let's go back to the intake table. And within the intake page, you can select whether to look at all proposals, or you could filter on the items that have been approved, canceled, deferred, drafted, or ready for review. So if we wanted to, we could go back to the deferred projects and look at those, or we could just stick with our drafted and ready for review. We've got the dashboard here at the top highlighting how many proposals have been created, how many are in progress, how many have been reviewed, and what the percentage breakdown is for approvals, deferrals, and cancellations. Your organization may have set up specific global views. You can have your own personal default view, and later on the ability to create additional personal views. We may want to look at all the approved proposals. And so in this case, I can see the proposals. This view was saved to sort by the last decision date. Your views may differ based on what has been set up in your organization. We might want to look at just the new proposals. We might want to look at just we could group or look at specific departmental proposals. It's really up to the administrators to decide how to make those views available. Again, we'll have a full video on creating views. So with that, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.